Hi, this is Marina from Darkstar Astrology, bringing you the full moon March the 31st that falls at 10 degrees Libra in Decan 2. And this is counted as a blue moon because it's the second one of the March as well. Now, it's a very dramatic one, making a T-square to Mars conjunct Saturn, and it also aligns with two very witchy dark stars. These stars are Gina, which is in the Crow, and psychic star Parama, which is found in Virgo, constellation of Virgo. Now, the Crow is a pretty tricky creature, but if it wasn't tricky enough, it's also going to be, this full moon is also going to be opposite a sharp-edged Mercury retrograde as well. So words will have immense power, and this full moon could cast a wicked spell. There is danger of lies being put forward from false seers, but some people will be so gullible and mind-controlled that they will believe these curses. And this is the power of the voodoo of Corvus, really. When people's beliefs are so strong that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, this is because of the nature of these stars, the stars of this blue moon. So let's have a look at them in more detail. Now, Parama is named after the ancient goddess of prophecy. She was the assistant of Carmentis, the Roman goddess of childbirth. And our stars in the girdle of Virgo, which is where this star is, are said to exert a mercurial and to a lesser extent Venusian influence. So we have Mercury again anyway, making it even more mercurial yet again. And now this star is listed as Kaffir in Vivian Robson's book, but it's also called an atonement offering and the submissive one. Now, referring to this title of Kaffir, Eric Morse says that the Arabic title Kaffir, which actually means infidel, no doubt springs from the Islamic revulsion of pagan goddesses. So that's kind of interesting. And you don't often hear that. I mean, I know that we hear a lot of Christianity taking over the pagan side of things and getting rid of the goddesses that way. But they did replace them with saints. You know, they were replaced with other females, really. And you kind of see that anyway. It's an upgrade, isn't it? You have the Greek goddesses were replaced with the Roman ones, and then the Roman ones were replaced with the Christian saints. So to me, it's the same thing. Now, I don't know that they're not going to be replaced by Islamic saints or females because there ain't none. Okay, so that's an interesting thing and a side note. So the mythology of Corvus then. Now all the stars of Corvus fall in Libra Decan 2. So the mythology is going to be very strong and important here for this decan. So the myth goes that the sun god Apollo sent the raven with a cup, which is also constellation Crater, which is next door to Corvus, the Holy Grail, in fact, to fetch some water for his feast. On his way, the crow was distracted by some fine figs on a tree and lost track of time gorging upon them. But when the crow suddenly remembered his errand, he picked up a passing snake, which is also constellation Hydra, and used it as his excuse for why he had not filled up the cup as asked. Another myth says that the roving raven was given a task by Apollo of keeping a watchful eye on Apollo's pregnant lover Coronis. The raven reported back to Apollo the unwelcome news that she was having an affair with someone else. Apollo, in anger, then cursed the poor old raven, and its colour changed from its former silver hue to the present black. So more on the constellation. Corvus is like Mars and Saturn, so there you go. It's like a malefic now. It's said to give craftiness, greediness, ingenuity, patience, revengefulness, passion, selfishness, lying, aggressiveness, and material instincts, and sometimes causes its natives to become agitators. So I also think this makes great gossips, journalists, and paparazzi. And, you know, it can definitely prey on the misfortune of others. So, you know, the crow is tricky. There's two sides to it. And I do think, yeah, there's black crows and there are the rare silver-hued ones before they started lying, basically. So, as usual, here we go again. Watch out for fake news. There could be some huge lies broadcasted out at this time. I mean, when aren't they? But I think this will be particularly big whopping lies here. There's also some mystery and confusion between the two main stars of Corvus, actually. So let's talk about that. Gina is the left wing and Algorab is the right wing. So the star that we're looking at, Gina, is actually the left wing that's being activated. Now, in the 15th century, in their charts, Gina was marked as being on the right and not the left. So this is important because it's only one of these stars that is classed as a Bohemian star, which has magical properties, and it's actually used in medieval talisman making and spell casting. So this mystery envelops the full moon energy, and you know, is Gina magical or just plain evil? And even if Gina is magical, how can magic even be a good thing if it's used to manipulate someone against their knowledge and wishes? So, you know, for example, like a love spell or something like that. But is magic always sorcery, or is it working with natural law for the good of another? For when someone makes a healing potion spell and blesses it, this is also magic too. So these themes are something to ponder on the full moon. And also the fact, this kind of right wing, left wing thing that I've been like really pondering over, because it's easier to sort of say that if you say you're right wing, everyone kind of knows what that means, sort of. And if you say you're left wing, people kind of know what that means as well. And but do they? Because the interesting thing is, if you're right wing, or if you say anything about border control, or actually if you're someone who's very Saturnian and likes strong borders and likes strong boundaries and isn't very Neptunian, where we're all one. And this also, it does fit actually with the whole thing about people who tend to be more sort of hippie in their love. And for that, I mean sort of, you know, free love and being more, I don't want to say this without offending people, because I know there are some people who are more promiscuous than others. And I don't want to say that they are, promiscuous sounds such a damning word, but it is more on the left, you know, having less, God, everything sounds really critical, doesn't it? Having less discernment with your lovers is, or being very comfortable with your sexuality. I don't know. How do you say it? It's the left wing is, it tends to be less rigid with rules about sex, I guess. The right wing goes to the other extreme where, you know, if you're a Christian, you know, me being ex-Catholic, I guess, is that you have to be a virgin when you marry, and you can't divorce. And if you divorce, you actually cannot marry again until your husband dies. So that's me buggered. So you know what I mean? So it's like there are two extremes, and it doesn't mean to say, I don't really agree with either extreme of right or left. So it does make me think that the balance has to be somewhere in between, and a bird can't fly with one wing. So, you know, that's my theory. So I think my views are, I would say, centre right. I would say they've gone to the right now. And I've said this before in other videos, because I've taken the test and the political compass test, and it said that I was middle right. It was pretty middle though. I was surprised. I thought it would be more right. But anyway, so I think as you get older, you do, and you don't want the thought of your daughter to be sleeping around, and you certainly wouldn't encourage her to sort of to do the free love thing. Well, I'm not going to. So there you go. So there's two extremes, and I think that the play on planet Earth is always going to be swinging from left to right and somehow getting a balance in the middle. I mean, you know, when somebody walks a tightrope, they have that big long stick, don't they? And those are the two wings. So, you know, if it goes too much to the left or too much to the right, you're going to fall off. And also, one other interesting thing I'd like to point out, which is always missed, is that calling right-wing people Nazis is ridiculous, because Nazis were National Socialists. So one thing that's never said, and you know what, they never referred to themselves ever as Nazis. So that's a kind of modern made-up thing, just so that we don't notice the fact that it was National Socialist. All right. So yeah, just wanted to point that out. Or maybe it sort of is that horseshoe theory of you go so far one way, you end up coming round to the other side, don't you? So I don't know. But anyway, it's interesting that the wings are being discussed on this moon, and also I probably will make a video one day about the sort of right hand and the left hand path, because what's his name? Rocking Mr. T, I believe his name is. I saw a video he made which was comparing the left with the left hand path compared to the right with the right hand path, and really it does sort of boil down to that. You know, the right wing do tend to be more kind of Christian or religious in a sort of traditional sense. They want traditional values. They don't really like promiscuity. And they're pro-life, all those kind of things. So yeah, they are more on the right hand path, and the left is more on the occult side of things, and the free love and the hippie and the Neptune. So, you know, this is all food for thought at this full moon. Now, there is actually a interpretation just for Parama on the moon as well, and it says that it's popular, has business worries though, domestic disharmony and divorce and poor health. Not very positive, I guess. I mean, I found in my research that the moon here seems to create either mad geniuses or brings out the very vilest attributes of the crow. Now, yeah, the meaning for the crow here is the birth native will be active, resourceful, shameless, merciless, and a thief and a drunkard, which is what Robson says. You know, Robson actually, yeah, he said the meanings are both from Robson, by the way. So yeah, he's not the most optimistic person when it comes to fixed stars interpretation. So I do, when I can find a Bernadette Brady version, I will balance them together. I think sometimes she sugarcoats a bit too much. And yeah, like the right wing and the left wing, Robson, I think Robson would be very much on the right if we were to question him today, and I would assume that Brady's on the left, but you know, there's me making judgments. Who knows? She might not be. Sorry, Bernadette. But anyway, the dignity of the moon here, he's not actually happy, so it's not very sure of itself, and it's probably much too concerned with what others think of them. So, which is a kind of lefty thing, you know. You all want to be kind of accepted, and you want to feel part of the collective. It's more of a Neptunian thing, whereas I think on the right, people really don't care if people like them or not. So yeah, so those touched by this moon will strive to succeed so that they can win the approval of an audience. So you see, and in that case, then we have the negative of the moon in Libra 2, because it could bring out the classic narcissists who forever crave adoration. But on the positive side, we can use this energy to generate a following that does good works in the collective. So, you know, like I said, there's always a positive and a negative. At this time, we could crave to be loved and approved of so much that we may not be discerning enough when it comes to whom we give our body. Tut tut. Though this can also be a time when many lovers get together. As Austin Kopok states, the moon in this position, he's another one that writes about moons in the decans, not on the stars particularly, but in the decans. He says, it is wont to create a lasting and secure union, but we will need to be careful about those that we invest ourselves in and under what terms, for they are prone to be taken advantage of. So yeah, Moon Libra 2, again, you know, that's the thing, that's the good-natured side of people on the left who really do sincerely want to help the disadvantaged. That's the thing. And they are often hoodwinked, you know, by the crafty crows who see that there's this like good intention and exploit that. So, you know, this is the thing. So the right is going to be a bit more skeptical and maybe over skeptical at times, you know, so that they won't help anyone because they all think that there's some kind of catch. But on the other side, you've got to be careful because, yeah, it does happen. So the more innocent among us then will need to guard against empathizing with the bad boy and bad girl around this time. You know, because then you get all starry-eyed and romantic and you could easily slip blindly into the underworld, and that is the Persephone problem as well. So as I said, the moon is opposite Mercury, so that's going to create another polarity here. Creates a synergy or conflict between the rational mind and gut instincts. Again, you know, very left and right. And I would say the gut instincts are on the left and the rational mind on the right. The restlessness creates a very driven energy, though, which is constantly in a state of flux, like the tides washing in and out. And this can make for a very creative, self-purifying action with a huge need to communicate our fluctuating moods to a wider audience. Oh yes, as I said, this opposition is part of this T-square, which has a square to the Mars and Saturn conjunction as well. So this is a big deal. Moon square Mars delivers a huge drive to succeed and the tendency to be competitive. The sexuality is a force to be reckoned with and thrusts like a rocket past all its rivals. This aspect is fiercely protective. So here we go. You know, the blood ties are extremely important. Again, that's more of a sort of right wing sentiment, really. And it's also another spur to succeed as well, like having that working for your kin. Moon square Saturn means that we have to grow up quickly, but deep inside, Saturn's armor is a very soft-centered, needy child. Those touched by this full moon will hide this very fragile side of their character, so appearing very strong, capable, and most of all, independent on the outside, and the suppressed needs will often come out as incapacitating illness or depression around the time of this full moon, which could be a way to get the care that they can't ask for. So this sometimes happens to people on the right, that they don't like to appear weak. They don't want to feel like a victim either. So they don't ask for help. But the thing is, you know, what happens is in the end, they may need help, so their body will cry out for it and they may get ill as well. So this is what can happen at this full moon. So yes, the main thing, as I said, it's a very tough T-square with Mars conjunct Saturn, and it looks to me like we'll have to really mature and get real in accepting the lies that are being told to us. Learning the hard way would be really like falling in love with that bad boy married man that I mentioned earlier, who will tell all manner of lies to get you into bed only to disappear the next morning. Now, I know, yeah, that sounds kind of sexist, but often it is the male, because they are more Marsy and predatory. But you do get women, but women are more likely to be gold diggers. You know, they don't pursue men. Well, some do, I guess. In the way that they want to sort of have what's the word? Notches on their bedposts. They pursue them in a different kind of way. Anyway, so the women crows, as the crow is the theme here, are more likely to be gold diggers. So just you know, better mention that. Now, sexual scandal could be a theme with Mars conjunct Saturn. Now, British call girl Christine Keeler epitomizes this aspect, managing to link sex with Russian spies and political scandal altogether. And I kind of think it's interesting at the moment because there's always this kind of it was the Russians all the time. But she has this aspect natally. I forgot to mention that in the post. I better write that down. Her involvement with the Profumo affair brought down the British government in the early 1960s, and her story was covered in a 1989 film, Scandal. So really, this incident did open the doors for the sexual revolution and the so-called swinging 60s back in the UK. And blackmail, which is very Mars conjunct Saturn again, was using sex as a weapon. And, it also can be sexual abuse as well. And I'm aware at the moment there's been a load of, rape gang exposés in the British media from a town called Telford. So there's more of these coming out as well. It's that scandal in a different way, and it's scandalous because of the way that it's been, how people can't actually talk about it. Now, it's kind of weird as well because we've got the Mercury retrograde in with it as well. So there's kind of the gagging of speech and the banning of free speech. All these themes have already come up before this moon has come, actually. So I don't know whether this will bring something to a head here. Like a sort of something must be done about this curtailment of freedom of speech because it's getting ridiculous, because it is in Britain, and I have to be careful what I say. That's why I sort of and ah a little bit and try and mispronounce things so the Big Brother doesn't pick it up on the transcript. Because you just don't know. You just don't know what this is the thing about this so-called that you don't know what is and what isn't. Like, if we knew what you couldn't say and what you can say, maybe you could sort of skirt around it. But no, they won't tell us because that just keeps us on our toes and keeps us worried and fearful and like we're treading on eggshells. I mean, this is ridiculous. Anyway, so the full moon meaning. I kind of write this on every post now, and I'm just going to keep repeating it every time I do a full moon. So you can read that on the post if you want to know what the full moon meaning is generally. But it is a purge and a release. So the full moons do give us that opportunity to go F you, and that's F, star, fill in the gaps. I don't want to swear because, again, maybe you can't say that. The full moon March healing meditation. So to ameliorate the effects of any painful contractions during the purging of any crow cads or pillagers, make the gods work for you by immersing yourself in Libra Decan 2 Black Crow energy. Or really it should be Silver Crow energy. But anyway, so if your ascendant or sun or moon are in the cardinal signs Decan 2, you might be extra sensitive to this full moon and want to take time out to heal and look within. So practice focused meditation or yoga with a Libra Decan 2 theme, and these are the healing props. So the tarot card for Libra 3 is the Three of Swords, which you can look at, gaze at. The pomegranate to eat, that of course is Persephone's fruit. Violet to adorn your table, flowers that are violet. And violet is an interesting word because it sounds like violent. And Anyway, I kind of like it. it's a kind of dark goddess flower, really. Peridot crystal to hold, which is a nice green colour. And music in the key of A to listen to. And for your bath, vanilla, mugwort. I like that because it kind of sounds a bit witchy. And rose because it's red and lovely and romantic. Rose essential oils to blend in a bath. And I'll put links at the bottom of this YouTube to where I got that information from, because a few people have asked. So in summary then, the full moon March 2018 makes the possibilities of sexual scandal very likely. So please, people, don't text your hairy or dangly or both parts to anyone during this full moon period. And don't believe a word that any crow spouts out of its beak at this time either. Unless that is that they are the very lovely silver-feathered ones who managed to preserve their original integrity. So the true healer crows, they are a rare breed indeed, and you will know them by the fact they won't bend you to their will and actually respect you the more you erect your Saturn boundaries. So with this post, this time I kind of ad-libbed in between when we started talking about the left and right wing, so I don't need to talk too much at the end of here. Only, I guess, just an update on the should I move situation. Well, in the end, I've decided that I'm going to stay put for a bit longer because it's just not fair on my daughter. It's just not. So it's a very crucial time at the moment. So I just thought, well, sometimes you do have to sacrifice things for the long-term good. It'll be much better to move. I will move ahead of her, though, so I can secure an address, because in England you can't get a school until you've got an address. And although a couple of the schools I spoke to said they possibly have a place, there's still one person ahead on the list, and because they already live there, they'll be considered first. So it's very, very risky to just move there and just hope for the best. Plus, they don't even have the options that my daughter's chosen. So, yeah, sometimes you have to kind of just think long term, and it would be a very lefty thing for me to do, to just go, hey, let's just jump and go for it and to the hell with everything, fate will decide, it'll be fine. No. Sometimes this kind of let go and let God doesn't always work. Sometimes it's a bit foolhardy. And yeah, listen to my own bloody reading that I did, or rather listen to my own post, because it was about doing impulsive things. And yeah, I mean, the good thing is it started the process, it started the process, and I have come to a middle ground, which is moving 6 months before she does, and she can stay with her dad, and it's fine, and she can finish her O-levels, and I can get our little nest ready, and then she's ready to fly into it later on, and just in time for sixth form. So yes, it's the good compromise. So this is astrology working in the real world, and not, oops, just dropped my crystal there, not going just with gut instincts, because I think it's a combination of, you get the gut instinct, yes, I want to do this. And it was good to do it because I went through all the motions of finding out what the limitations were, and what the whole process was, and also just getting my house valued, because if I'd not had that impulsive drive to do all that, I wouldn't have really known, and I would always be sitting around going, oh, I just want to move, and always thinking of the future and not actually living in the moment. But now I know when I can move, I know the practical limitations of what I need to do. And so while I'm here, I can prepare and actually probably enjoy my last year and a bit in where I live, and watch it gentrify before I leave, which will be fun, and just say fond farewell. Yeah, sorry, I'm just blabbing on now, aren't I? All right then, so let's wrap it up. And if you want to know more about the month ahead for your horoscopes, they are also on Darkstar as well. I have decided, actually, I'm not going to do the monthlies because they don't actually get as much views as the moons, and they do take quite a long time to do. And I'd actually much, much rather spend that time doing, please, because I really want to do it. I still haven't done my astrology of conspiracy. I really want to do that. I want to have a look at things like 9/11. I want to have a look at the Paul McCartney is dead theory, all the theories, and look at the astrology behind it, because I think it'll be interesting. And even if it doesn't get as many views, I don't care. I just want to do it because I enjoy it. So yeah, then you can get a nice mix of things that are popular, like the moons, and things that are a little bit more niche. And I think that's, again, the right balance between left and right. All right, then, that brings me to the end. All the very best. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.